third session, farmers working together to build healthier soils. So we have Tyler Zimmerman and Chris Walberg, both from North Dakota. They're going to be sharing with us today. We have Cameron Ogilvie, who will be facilitating the discussion. He is the former Knowledge Mobilization Coordinator for Soils at Guelph, University of Guelph initiative to advance sustainable soil management in Ontario by bridging the gaps between farmers, researchers, and the public. He has a Master's of Science in Cropping Systems and Agronomy from the University of Guelph, where he has studied the impact of cover crops, although he prefers to call them service crops, on water and nutrient cycling. Cameron recently joined the Soil Health Institute, working as a soil health educator in Canada. He is an avid musician and adventurer and loves helping different groups of people understand each other better. Before Cameron introduces Tyler and Chris, he has a few slides he's going to share with us about a recent Soils at Guelph project.
Hey, thanks so much for the intro, Jess. And oh boy, like I just had such a fun time filming those videos with Ann Verhollen, Jason DeVoe. It was quite a blast. So fun to see those being shared here. Kind of a fun final project to finish off on. Are you seeing my slides okay, Jess?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a few intro slides because I'm wearing a few hats here. So when Jess asked me to moderate this discussion that we're going to have in a little bit, I was still wearing a Soils at Guelph hat. So want to give due recognition to that. Soils at Guelph exists to advance sustainable soil management across the province of Ontario by making University of Guelph research more accessible and facilitating that knowledge sharing between different stakeholder groups in soil. And really, I'd say the position that Soils at Guelph takes is that we see that research, the value of research is that it helps build confidence. It removes some of the risk involved in decision making, and it helps you make more confident decisions as you're stepping out and planning whatever it is, cover crops, soil management strategies, and the like. And so Soils at Guelph has really been actively involved in creating a wide variety of resources, from summarizing published research to creating infographics and fact sheets like the cover crop recipe that you see there on the screen, which was a key part in building out that Cooking with Covers video series. So if any of these resources interest you, if you want to be staying up to date on the latest soil research that's coming out of the University of Guelph, I highly encourage you to connect. Visit the website soilsatguelph.ca, and you can see email and the Twitter channel there as well. That's my little plug for Soils at Guelph, and I'll just leave my contact info here as well and say that I'm in a new role now, but totally happy to stay in touch with you. So feel free to reach out. All right, that's my little plug at the beginning here. As Jen said, if cover crops weren't challenging enough already, the two gentlemen that I'm about to speak with have thrown a business partnership on top of that. And so I'm just really excited to be joined by Tyler Zimmerman and Chris Walberg here. I'll just give a brief intro to them, and then they're going to share with you a little bit about their story. So Tyler grew up on the family farm and started farming with his father after high school. He farmed alongside his dad for 25 years, and his father just retired about 6 years ago. Tyler started to change his farming practices about 8 to 10 years ago, focusing more on conservation of the soil. He's been 100% no-till for 7 years, also incorporating cover crops, and more recently, he has been trying 60-inch corn, planting green, interseeding cover crops, intercropping, and is just starting to transition some acres to organic. And with him is Chris Walberg. Chris, along with his wife Sarah and 5 daughters, is a 5th-generation farmer on their ranch that was established in the 1890s. He's been farming for 20 plus years, and he's been transitioning to regenerative farming and ranching practices in the last 5 to 6 years. He operates about a 40-60 split between grains and cattle, covering 3,800 acres of cropland and pasture land in southeast North Dakota. All right, Chris, Tyler, I see you're both on the same camera there, so good to be joined by both of you. Can you see the slides?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, we'll just get started then. Obviously, where we're farming down in the southeast part of the state of North Dakota, we've been doing, I've done a lot of different things. We got, actually in the picture here is one of our setups for our 60-inch corn. That's got our interseeder that we've been using for a couple of years on it now. It's it works. We can do anything with it, you know, really. You just take out a row here or there and you can kind of change a scenario up on however you want to do it. So the guy can really have a lot of options when he is doing 60-inch corn that route. We also use that same drill for interseeding our 30-inch corn too. We'll just add in that extra rows in there. So Chris, you got anything on the 60s right there? We can probably go to the next slide, I guess. Yeah. Can you go to the next slide, Cameron, or?
Yeah, are you seeing it now?
Not the next one, no.
Oh. There we go. All right, that's our cover crop coming up in the 60-inch rows. We've been using a 7 to 8 way mix on our 60-inch corn. It's been working pretty good, but we are seeing a little bit of a yield drag in our single 60s. We've been maintaining our populations when we try 60s, same as our 30-inch. You know, so you're going to your in-row spacing would be like we're typically 30 to 32,000 on 30s, and then where, you know, our in-row spacing on 60s is we're, you know, staying in that 60 to 64,000, you know, maintaining that 30 to 32,000 population across the acre. But, you know, our in-row spacing, our plants are getting to be 2-3 inches apart. It seemed like it's a little better when we went to a full flex hybrid versus, you know, I think our first year we tried, it was, you know, a fixed ear hybrid. And so it seemed like the flex ear hybrid helped a little bit, but we're still seeing some yield drag there. Going forward, I don't know if we're trying 60s. We got a neighbor that's doing twin row 60s, and he's maintaining yield, if not maybe even gaining a little. And then has that full season cover crop in between the rows. So it's something worth trying on a small scale. I think until we kind of get it dialed in to maintain our yields. So, you got anything to add to the 60s we've been experimenting with?
Yeah, it's been working. It's just we got to try to figure out yield drag, because sometimes there is a yield drag, sometimes there isn't. But I like the idea, because like I can you have that inner row where you got all that cover crop growing, where maybe a guy can do corn on corn different years, you know, and not actually be corn on corn. You know, you'd have that inner row, you know. And there's actually a picture after harvest that's on Chris's field. You can definitely see there's an added value in on the grazing side of things too. So
yeah, to that's the main reason I tried 60s is for the extra grazing come fall. I mean, that green cover mixed with corn stalks is really you know, a great grazing mix for the cattle. So I don't know if you have any livestock producers, you know, it gets to be a win-win there after harvest. It really works well that way. So there's another picture of it after harvest and a different other. So the other 60s and 30s, you know, we built an interseeder, and for interseeding on 30-inch rows, and we struggled a little bit with our cover crop shading out in our 30s. And so we haven't had access across 100% of our acres. There's a picture of the cedar we built there. You can see it's in the corn.
Chris and Tyler, sorry to interrupt you guys. Hey, sorry to interrupt you guys. I'm wondering if you're trying to log on to the call with more than one computer or phone right now, because it seems like if you just use your phone or just use your computer, I think it'll come through better than if you're trying to use both.
Okay. Just let's leave everything off here. Let's see if I can pull this up here now.
I can hear you good now, just so long as you've only
Can you hear me now, Cameron?
I can, and this is much better. So don't sign in on anything else, and then it'll be fine.
Okay, no, that sounds good. The one computer was trying to come back on, I think is what was going on. Yeah, so let's just we'll take off right from here. This is the interseeder that we built last winter, actually. We used it this last year. Going right in, we were interseeding all of our 30-inch corn with it, and side dressing our 28% at the same time, which just a time-wise factor to put both of those passes into one really made a big difference. Obviously, you can see that we got a lot of residue that we're seeding into there. Well, I think later on we can see that we'll show you some green seeding stuff, but this was all green seeded in this photograph. So
Next slide. There you can see our interseeding this year on our 30-inch. We're getting good early season growth, but you can see the shading there. It really hurts us in the late season. Only about half of that seems to survive throughout the summer. They get shaded out, and I don't know. We'll see. Of course, we were getting into a D3 drought this year, and so that had an effect as well. So next slide.
now this is an after harvest shot, I guess, after that was just interseeded 30-inch corn. So it works some years. Some years you struggle with getting enough cover to take hold in the 30s, but we've definitely in spots it's definitely worked. Certain fields work better than others. Certain I think soil different times, what the crop was previously and everything else to get a good stand. But you can just see there, that's a lot of rye coming in there. We'll no-till soybeans into that next spring now, and we'll kill off the rye later. So it's just giving us a great benefit with, because a lot of times we got wet springs and different things. So all that rye growing out there really gives us a head start in the springtime. And also with that, we do a lot of grazing and stuff, custom grazing and different things on some of this stuff. So there's just a good shot of us actually green seeding both of those.
Keep going one more, Cam. There's a experiment I did this year. Of course, I did that in that was 4 to 5 foot tall standing rye, seed and corn into it. That's the first time I ever tried that this last year. It seemed to work all right. We just were a little too dry. That rye sucked too much moisture out early. And then like I say, we went into a D3 drought, so I never got the normal rainfall to make that work. you know, doing that, we had a perfect stand there. You can see there in that slide. This is about it looks like probably about 2 weeks later, I believe. You can see on the left-hand side, that's what I planted into. It was rye, hairy vetch, and red clover. And then on the right-hand side, you can see the corn growing up through that. You know, I had a really pretty good stand. I did get one shot of rain right after seeding, and so it came up pretty good. I think there might be one more picture later of the corn up a little more. And then, yeah, there we go. And you can see the corn's growing up. It gave me the confidence to try it again. You know, you see, like, I think even you guys have quite a few more heat units than where we're at. It might even work a little better where you're at because you can seed your corn a little sooner. But it gave me the confidence to try this again because the weed control was phenomenal with that rye. I mean, there was hardly a weed in that field. And all I did was come with one light pass of Roundup after, because I didn't have a full crimper roller. And so, but the weed suppression in that, and then I think the late season nutrient release from that cover crop in August, you know, we started getting some rain late season August, and really turned that corn to come on. Even though we were in a D3 drought, the low spots in that field where I didn't run out of moisture per se, that it had beautiful 10 to 12 foot silage corn. So here's just another shot of our air drill that we own together. One thing I guess we forgot to mention is that we partner a lot of things. We're separate farms about 10 miles apart, and we partnered on a fair amount of equipment to get us further down the soil health journey. Tyler, you know, I wouldn't be where I was at if I didn't follow Tyler's steps, you know, 3 to 4 years behind him. And now that we're working together, we've been sharing equipment and back and forth. We own this tractor and air drill together. We built that interseeder together. We're in the process of building a crimper roller together now this winter, and, you know, sharing the equipment. I mean, a few other things we share together and then work together besides. It's really worked out well for us to experiment on a few acres on each place of different things to look at. And, you know, of course, now we've adopted a lot of things farm wide. You know, we're both 100% no-till now, and we're both trying to incorporate 100% cover crop on every acre. And seeding, we're starting to seed a lot more green in the spring, and we're both seeing a lot of positive results. And that partnership between us has really helped, you know, to give us each confidence to keep doing what we're doing. We're seeing the results in our soil, and now we're finally starting to see the results, positive results in our crops as well. So I'll let Tyler speak to this cover crop mix, or intercropping.
Yeah, that where the drill was going there on that bean stubble, that was we were seeding seeded intercrop of peas, oats, and canola. And this here is a shot of the oats in that mix. We had a late frost and we froze off the peas May 28th, and so the peas came back, but they were down. And then the canola was so dry, I don't believe most of the canola ever did germinate until way late. But you can see the field, zero chemical, zero fertilizer, and we got zero weeds coming out there. And I've just been, the last couple of years, I've really been trying to do more intercropping, trying to figure out which crops work together. There's a shot of, I stripper headed it. There is, you know, you can see a weed or two in there, but for the most part, it came off relatively clean and easy. The oats really took off. I think I had 10 pounds of oats seeded, and we ended up getting 60 bushel of oats out of there because of the fact that the peas kind of froze off. There's just an after shot of after harvest of the regrowth. Everything gets, we did do a cover crop seeding on that, radish, turnips, I think just some barley and different things just to add a few extras in there. But for the most part, the oats and the peas came back on their own. And I think now the next slide or so you'll see, then it all gets grazed off. Actually, this field got grazed off by Chris's partner. He's got some cattle with, come up and graze it off. And that's the aftermath after, I think they had 35 or 40 days up there of grazing. And yeah, that's what's left afterwards. So I think we had 3 different crops growing all year. then we came in and did, we had 3-4 different crops growing all summer. We just, all the biodiversity and stuff that's going on in that field, I just, that's where I really like that intercropping and get it off early, get the cattle out there. And I think we just, I was kind of like a primer, soil primer in that field. We just get a lot of stuff that happened in that field in one year.
Hey, Chris and Tyler, I'm wondering if maybe with some of the things that you've been saying here, I'm wondering if this is maybe a good spot to transition to some of our discussion topics.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen for right now and just hear from you both a little bit more. But you've been saying "we" a lot, and I love that, and I find it really interesting. And so I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about, this session is about farmers working together. And so can you share a little bit about what have you been able to accomplish working together, partnering with one another? In your soil health journey that you wouldn't have been able to accomplish had you just been working as lone rangers?
Well, like you said, I do always say we, and I farm by myself for the most part, and then we do stuff together with Chris, but I've always have said we because it seems like there's always somebody else in the backside that I learned that we're following somebody else's footsteps, and then now on the same token, when Chris and I are together, we do a lot of things together. We'll knock a lot of ideas around each other all the time, every day. We'll get on the phone and talk about different things. What I want to do or what he wants to do. I'm not a cattle guy. Chris is, so I'm always trying to figure out ways to bring his cattle onto my land too, and different things. So there's just working together gives us a chance to each see it from a different view too sometimes, and then each get to try a little bit different thing and see what works best, and we can help each other that way.
I'd add to that, if you're thinking about, if you're a conventional farmer now and you're thinking about, transitioning to, no-till and cover crops and doing these things to improve your soil health long term, the networking part, me and Tyler have a partnership that, it's invaluable, the sharing that we can have of the knowledge and things and thoughts that we have to making things work. But, so, and then along with that, we've obviously made a lot of friendships with other like-minded people who have gone down this, they talk about a soil health journey, and it sort of is. And, so it's important if you're thinking about making a switch to, to attend things like this and, get some knowledge and make some connections with people who, and you're, maybe not, 10 miles away, but, within 50 or 60 miles, there might, there's got to be a few people like-minded, and you make that networking and sharing, and, you get that local connection of what people are doing around the neighborhood that works and what doesn't work, so you can, minimize the mistakes you're making. Because, we've made mistakes and there's certain things that haven't worked out, but there's some things that are really work out really well. And, and now that we've both been in this for a few years, the changes in our soil and the changes in our mindset are really things that we're seeing positive changes in. So, that's the value working together and sharing and networking. So,
sure. So I love hearing about that. Love hearing about the importance of connecting with that network. How did your connection start? I know a little bit of your story, but maybe for those who are listening in and don't know the two of you, how did you two first form your partnership? What were some of the conditions that you came to the conclusion we're better working together than we are working alone?
Well, so we grew up together. We're the same age. We went to kindergarten together. So we've known, we've been lifelong friends. And then I went in the service after high school for a few years, and then I came back and started farming. So I started farming, 4 or 5 years later than Tyler did. And then, we've been lifelong friends. So as I saw Tyler start moving down this path, we started talking more and more about it. And the more we talked about it, the more it just made really good sense to me. And, And so, we both started transitioning, we were both conventional till, and then we kind of transitioned up to like a minimum till type situation. And now we transition to a no-till, situation. And, a lot of it's, the networking sharing of ideas that just led to, well, geez, it makes sense for us financially to share equipment. Because, equipment's expensive. And so, and we didn't want to, when we were transitioning, we didn't want to go whole hog on our farm. So it gave us the opportunity to try, half our farm and go and work from work off our successes that way. And so I think, that's just how it just kind of developed over time, and it's just the way it works. And I guess it just worked well for us to continue to share equipment. We're not extremely large farmers per se, so we're we're both it works, I guess. And I guess we're both willing to work 20-hour days if we have to, share the equipment to make it work on that time, because especially in the spring, the time is critical, that we get the crop in when we have the weather window to get it done. So we're both willing to do that as well. And sometimes Tyler comes to runs the equipment at my place, and I go work, we're gonna run equipment at his place just to make it work and happen. And I guess we're both willing to do that.
Yeah, I think that is one of the deals, comes back to, we are willing to do that. We're willing to work together, I guess. So that is one of the biggest things, is I guess we can get along and willingly do it. Back on kind of how we got there too is, yeah, we just, we were looking at a drill early on, and we both started talking about it, like, hey, that would really work into our farms, and let's just own it together. We bought one drill together, actually 8 or 9 years ago, and it's we've actually traded that one off, bought a different one, and it's just kind of everything. We made it work out so well that we just thought, let's just keep making things work out. So.
So maybe you're buying equipment to work together to improve soil health on both your operations, and you kind of talked about how you had transitioned a number of years ago. So what were some of those aha moments that both of you were looking at your farms and together were thinking, we got to do something about our soil? What was the aha moment for both of you?
Well, one of my biggest things, and it's still an aha moment every, especially in the wintertime, is the soil loss. Very few people realize the amount of soil that is blowing away from wind erosion. I was actually just across the field the other day on a snowmobile again, and the field's completely white, covered in snow, and there's still dirt moving. You'll see a dirt ridge, dirt silted in the snow out in the middle of a field. So the fact of the matter that we're still losing soil even when the snow is covered, you don't see that unless you actually get out and visibly go out and start to look for that. And the time in my life back, even 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when I really started to look for that. So every time it snows, I go drive around the countryside to go see what the dirt's been doing after a snowstorm. And that's my aha moment of, we need to change. We really need to do something if we want to start building soil health. You got to start by keeping the soil that we have and better than that.
One of the first things for me was is a few years back, I no-tilled a cornfield and just in the soybean stubble, and I put my P and K on top of the ground in the fall. And then I, did my nitrogen program in the spring on a split application. But, once you do it once in that corn yield, it was actually one of my best yielding fields that year. So just, having that success like that, I was just like, well, I can do this. I don't have to deep rip and everything else in the fall and spring cultivate. I can no-till this and it works. And so you just you try one thing and then it builds to another thing. And, another thing that we both have really noticed is the earthworm increase, and I don't remember 10 years ago going in the field and looking and seeing very many earthworms. Where now, if I don't see earthworms, I'm wondering what's going on, why they're not there. Is it, it's just one of those improvement things. You see your soil kind of come alive. It changes, the colors are changing. more earthworms. It's getting a little different aroma to it. Things are changing and for the better. We're starting to see some small increases in our organic matter. And I think, all farmers are well aware that, an increased organic matter usually, increases in water holding capacity and typically in their crop productions are better as well. So it's just positive changes that we're seeing all the way around.
It seems like having a few of those moments where you make a change and it works out, that boosts your confidence level a little bit, and then you're seeing some of these indicators like, oh, I've got more earthworms and things like that. Like those are really, I imagine those are pretty reassuring moments for you of we're on the right path here. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. When you start to see those changes, and that, when you talk about soil change, you can see that early. I mean, if you go dig, I'll do that a lot of times. I got a shovel in every tractor, every truck, every pickup. I always got a shovel because I love to go see the difference from what I'm doing today to what it was even last year or 3 years down the road, to go walk into the neighbor's field and see what's going on. You can start to visually see a color change. You can see it in the texture, the structure, of the earthworms. So it's fun to go out and see that change now. And it obviously 10 years difference, you can see a big difference, but you can definitely see it in just very short time. You can start to see that soil health benefits.
I'd say along with that, we're trying to remind this year of the water. Water is our most, important nutrient. It's above N, P, and K and everything else. If we don't have water, nothing grows. And, this doing these practices, it really increases our water infiltration. And not only that, like we have some wet springs too. And when we're seeding green, that really helps manage the wet springs. If it's wet, you can let that green grow and suck some of that moisture out. It's really beautiful to seed into. It's a nice soft seed bed, seeding into that green thing. So, it's a water management tool when we're wet springs. And then on the backside, like we found out this year when we're dry, it's a water savings on the backside as well. So I think both ways we're winning on our water use in our crops and our infiltration. So and then to go along just with that, our soil temps are lower because we have that cover on top of our soil. And when you have bare soil, your summer soil temps can get above 100. And that's when you start killing all your biology life in your soil. So if we can keep a cover on, it keeps our soils cooler, so that biology is working better for us. We can keep our soil temps in the 70s and 80s and during the middle of summer, and keep our soil functioning to provide nutrients for our crop. And along with that fats on top of the soil too, when we get a heavy rain, you don't have that soil, the raindrops actually pounding into the soil. Which causes your soil to splash up on your plants, which it causes erosion. Along with it, also it causes some diseases on our plants as well, because you get some of those soil-borne diseases splashed up on your plants. So you minimize that as well. There's a lot of things that just kind of make sense when you stop and think through all these things and why we're implementing these practices. So
sure. Folks, I've got a few more questions here that I'm gonna ask, but I want to leave it open to the audience here also. If you got questions for Chris and Tyler, feel free to drop those in the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for those, and we'll come back to them. But with what you just said there, Chris, it just makes sense. I am dead sure that there are moments where both of you are standing there scratching your heads because things just didn't go quite the way you had planned. And maybe you are questioning that idea of whether or not this makes any sense. So can you talk about some of those challenges that you've faced? You've got the confidence building moments, and then you got the moments which kind of bring you down. What have been some of those experiences? What did you learn through them?
Well, don't give up, I guess. I obviously this last year we had some pretty big setbacks. We had that late frost, May 28th. We had a lot of corn, soybeans up out of the ground. The no-tilled soil, the ground that had cover actually froze harder, and we lost most of the crop in those spots. So at the right next line, the neighbor Blackfield the corn didn't die, the soybeans didn't die. So that was a big wake up call there. It's just like, man, we had everything perfect, but yet, Mother Nature is still the one in charge. So that was kind of heart wrenching to think that we had everything was perfect. We thought we had everything right this year, and we still lost it and had to kind of start over on some of that. That was one of the later things. We've had struggles with fertility and different things. We've found to change timing of fertility and placement. But we learned that together too. Some of that we had to learn year to year. Chris was doing one thing, I was doing another thing, and his crop turned out better than mine. And we figured out it was soil fertility placement, different things like that. So we've definitely had to. We've had our ups and downs. We've had to change things, but I don't have any other neighbors that are no-tillers. When Chris came on board a few years after I did, it's helped me out as much as I think I've helped him out, to partner together and learn from each other. So
do you think you do some of that intentionally where, Tyler, you'll do one thing, Chris, you'll do something slightly different just to be able to compare? Do you do that at all?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just maybe more so it just happens because we're just, we're two different people. We have maybe, just a slightly different change on what we decide to do in a particular field. And then we talk about it, as we're maybe driving around or looking at things. And so it just kind of naturally comes up to, we're still individual farmers farming our own land. And so, we do small things differently, and sometimes those small things, add 10, 15 bushels. So, there's some changes there. And then, me being a livestock guy, I have a little bit different, I'm applying a lot of manure things on my farm, which is a little different than his. So, there's some differences as well. And so, I don't know, you talk about a challenge. I think the toughest challenge for me was changing my mindset from having those couple aha moments and going to a couple of, soil health meetings to educate myself. It just all of a sudden everything starts to click and you change your mindset. Like, I don't know why I was farming the way I was before, because I'm seeing all these, benefits from the way I've changed my farm. And now, now I have my thinking is more wide open. Before all I thought about was, well, I buy the seed from the best company or the best, and then I apply the fertilizer. Whatever the agronomist says for soil test, and everything is just so cut and dry, and that you just did it. Same thing everybody's doing. Maybe you try a little new product or something, but that's about it. Otherwise, you just kind of did everything, and then you just hoped it all worked out. For now, I don't know. I feel like I'm a lot more in control of what I'm doing. I'm open to any idea, and then I can see the positive changes in my soil, which is transferring to my crops. So I think the toughest thing is just that mindset change. If you have producers out there that are, they're thinking about changing, I would say that, just keep thinking about it and go to these meetings, and eventually things will start clicking it, and you'll want to try a few things on your farm. And, and that's the other thing to think about too, is, we didn't, in the beginning, we were only doing small experiments. We might try an 80 or something, and then we talk about it, and then gives you the confidence to try some more and more, so we kind of grew into it. And I encourage people to do that on their farm. If you're going to transition, I don't know how relative to size of your farm, but just do 10% or 20% and try a couple of these practices for a few years and observe, so you learn what's happening on your farm. And I think you'll see positive results and want to continue to spread those across more of your acres.
I'm totally on board with that idea. Start small, as we were hearing from Deb earlier, keep things simple. Any other pro tips that you would share, for folks who are just getting started, or even pro tips that you'd share for folks who are getting started in a, trying to establish some kind of partnership similar to what you, Chris, and Tyler have been able to establish with each other? What are some of those key ingredients to success?
I think one of them is you got to build yourself, build a network, or you got to get around like-minded people, Get away from the naysayers, because there's a lot of naysayers that, no-till doesn't work, cover crops doesn't work, especially in our area anyways. Go to the meetings that people are discussing these types of things. Get in that mindset, because like Chris said earlier, you have to change the way you think, if you actually want to go down this route. So, you really get yourself set up with the friends that you need. Chris and I have actually, the other thing that we do together is we do a farm tour in the summer with on both of our farms, and then we'll do a winter meeting also with just to try to get the locals together so that we can try to build a network of local people right here around us, all of our neighbors getting in the same mindset, so that we can all share and learn from each other. So
Love it. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think, I think it's kind of critical to really have some success early. It's just like anything in life, if you try something and it turns out poor, and you try it again, it turns out poor. Well, third time you're just going to say the heck with it. So I think it is, just don't do it without planning a little bit. You want to have some success early to build upon. And I don't know, I guess, for me, one of the easiest things to try is to get some fall seeded rye and then no-till your soybeans into it. You don't need any modification to your planter, I don't believe, or your drill to try that on a small acreage your first time. And it just that's a really easy thing to try, and it works. The only thing to be on that situation is just to manage your spring moisture, that you're seeding into a nice seed bed that has adequate moisture to germinate your beans. If it happens to be a hot, dry spring, you're going to want to terminate that rye early. So it's a moisture management thing, and so just be mindful of that. But I think that's one practice that people could use for their initial practice to try. And then you could try that for a few years and then build upon that. The other thing is, I don't know, I believe you guys are kind of maybe a heavy corn soybean rotation there. I know wheat are a small grain, it's tough to get into the rotation, but boy, if a producer can do that, it really helps. You can get a cover crop after that small grain to seed your corn into. That cover crop will help cover your ground, sequester some nutrients for you, and that really works well. So if they can get that third crop, diversity really matters.
Right. Really big game changer. Man, these are great pro tips, guys. Start small, build a network, get around like-minded people, set yourself up for success early. I like what Patrick just dropped in the chat. If you've got the equipment, offer it up to up and comers, like Nick Stockman did for him. So that's neat. Also thinking about mentoring relationships, partnering, seeing where there's need and where there's opportunity. It's good thinking. Tyler, Chris, I'm wondering if you can share, just kind of as we wrap up here, what are some of those key networks that you have tapped into? You've talked about meetings, but maybe there's some influencers out there, or there's some other resources that you could point folks towards. Could you share a few of those?
I guess probably our number one that's probably with both of us is NDSU Extension, Dr. Abby Witt. She's been kind of instrumental in our area of really getting things started. And from knowing her, we've both been able to go out and meet a lot more people, through the different things that she's done. And then on top of that, once you know these people, then you get to know the other guys and get out and get to those bigger meetings, and get to meet other people. So I guess that's probably one of the bigger ones that been instrumental in our setup anyways.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I can't, with the technology today, you can't just Google search on YouTube. There's hundreds of soil health videos of different farmers, all across the nation, really the world, trying different things, and they all have good ideas that you can, take some value from and somehow incorporate into your farm some version of what they're doing. And Twitter, I guess, we're both on Twitter.
there, you know, there's a network of people on there as well. And I don't know, I can't think of anything else. That's, I mean, other than just, you know, we're both going through like, I'm sure you guys just like this St. Clair conference, you know, conservation, you know, meetings like today. We're both trying to do as many of those as we can when we can fit them into our schedule. And, you know, those are, you know, invaluable as well. So I just, you know, those are the types of things that I guess we're doing. So
Yeah, that's great, guys. It has been such a pleasure for me to be able to chat with both of you here. I'm glad that we were able to figure out and get some of the technology working. And so just a big thank you to the both of you for joining us today, sharing your story, chatting with me. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I wish we could have had everything work a little better, where our slideshow would have been a lot better. Not knowing what slide was up there was kind of hard to talk about it, and kind of got us both off track of where we needed to be. But definitely, if we can maybe just put our info in the chat. I know on the last slide we had our information and stuff on there if anybody wanted to contact us. But definitely reach out if anybody's got any questions, or, you know, get out there and look for the information you want. So
no, yeah, sorry we had a crappy start there with the connection and everything, but yeah, no, our contact information is there. You know, feel free to reach out to us. You know, we're willing to chat with anybody about some ideas and what, you know, because we're trying new things all the time in our place now, and so you're welcome to contact us. And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys. And sorry for the botch in the first 15 minutes.
No worries. We landed the plane.